The legendary ocean liner Titanic embarks on her maiden voyage, carrying passengers of all social classes, from the wealthiest of aristocrats to aspiring immigrants seeking a new life in America. A confluence of lives, dreams, and destiny ties, all aboard the largest and most luxurious ship of her time, revered as the unsinkable marvel of maritime engineering. On the night of April 14, 1912, a nervous lookout named Frederick Fleet spots an iceberg looming in the distance. Instead of the tragedy that once was, this time, a change in course is timely. His urgent bell ringing and call of "iceberg right ahead" are quickly addressed by the officers on the bridge. First Officer William Murdoch orders a hard starboard maneuver. The engines are reversed, the behemoth ship strains against the ice-cold North Atlantic waters, and to everyone's relief, the Titanic narrowly avoids the iceberg. A palpable tension runs through the crew, but the passengers remain blissfully unaware of the near disaster. Word of the incident is discreetly contained to prevent panic, with the assurance that the ship is undamaged and the voyage continues as planned. News of the Titanic's successful evasion of the iceberg spreads across the globe. The story fuels Titanic's legend, reinforcing her reputation as the unsinkable ship. The voyage continues without further incident, as the ship sails into progressively warmer waters. Aboard the ship, life remains a microcosm of the Edwardian society. The first-class passengers continue their indulgence in lavish dinners, sophisticated conversations, and grand parties. Wealthy American socialite, Molly Brown, becomes a popular figure with her gregarious personality and heartfelt stories of rags to riches. In second class, a young artist named Jack Dawson mingles with others, sharing his worldviews and creating beautiful sketches of the ship and its passengers. He befriends a first-class passenger, Rose DeWitt Bukater, a young woman trapped in a loveless engagement to the arrogant steel tycoon, Cal Hockley. Their friendship grows, bonded by shared aspirations and a mutual longing for freedom. The third-class passengers, meanwhile, fill their time with simple pleasures. They share stories, music, and dance, embracing the promise of a fresh start in America. Amid these buoyant spirits, the ship's crew efficiently manages the colossal operations, a ceaseless ballet of duty and service. Upon reaching the shores of America, the ship sails past the Statue of Liberty and docks at Pier 54 in New York City. The arrival is met with fanfare, a sense of awe and wonder filling the air as people marvel at the majestic ship. The passengers disembark, embracing their loved ones or setting foot on a new land with hope and dreams in their eyes. The tale of Titanic's safe journey becomes a beacon of human triumph and resilience. Post the successful maiden voyage, the Titanic continues to serve as the White Star Line's crown jewel, making regular transatlantic trips. The stories of the people aboard, their lives, loves, and experiences continue to captivate and intrigue, creating an enduring legend. Each voyage is a testament to the progress of human engineering and a symbol of luxury and grandeur. Over the years, the Titanic plays a significant role in major world events, being used as a troop transport during World War I and later serving as a symbol of hope during the Great Depression. She even plays a vital role in World War II, transporting soldiers and refugees across the Atlantic. As the decades pass, newer, faster, and larger ships begin to eclipse the Titanic, yet she remains a living testament to a bygone era of opulence and grandeur. Eventually retired, she is preserved as a floating museum, attracting millions of visitors who walk her decks and hallways, reliving the golden age of ocean liners. In this timeline, the Titanic continues to be an emblem of human ambition, an enduring symbol of progress, resilience, and survival. A ship that never sank but instead sailed through the currents of time, carrying with it stories of humanity's dreams and endeavors. When the tides of World War I swept Europe in 1914, the Titanic's role evolved dramatically. The British government requisitioned her, along with her sister ships, the RMS Olympic and RMS Britannic, transforming them into troop transports. Painted in a coat of drab grey, she was rechristened as the HMHS, His Majesty's Hospital Ship, Titanic, providing a stark contrast to her former glamorous self. Under the command of Captain Edward Smith, who had masterfully steered her past the iceberg 2 years ago, the Titanic sailed back and forth across the Atlantic. She transported troops from Canada and the United States to the war-torn shores of France, then returned laden with the wounded, the weary, and the traumatized. During these crossings, her lavish first-class quarters served as infirmaries and makeshift operating theaters, her grand dining halls transformed into mess areas for soldiers. The gaiety and laughter that once echoed within her walls were replaced by the murmurs of the wounded, the whispers of prayers, and the silent, steely determination of the medical staff and crew. In the years between the World Wars, Titanic was returned to her original function as a passenger liner. However, the impact of the Great Depression forced the White Star Line to streamline their operations, and the once bustling Titanic often sailed with many of her cabins empty. Yet, she stood resilient, a beacon of hope in the grim economic landscape, a symbol of the prosperity that was once had and could be had again. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 saw Titanic repurposed yet again, this time as a troop and civilian transport under the command of the British Admiralty. Older now, and with her machinery showing signs of wear, she was no longer the fastest or the grandest. But she was reliable, sturdy, the unsinkable ship that had faced down an iceberg and stood as a testament to endurance in the face of adversity. Throughout the war, the Titanic made multiple crossings of the U-boat-infested Atlantic, carrying not only British and American soldiers but also Jewish refugees fleeing the horrors of Nazi-occupied Europe. Each journey was fraught with danger, but the experienced crew and the ship's formidable reputation seemed to imbue her with an air of invincibility. In 1945, with the war's end, the Titanic was once again decommissioned and returned to the White Star Line. She had sustained minor damage during the war, but the indomitable spirit of the ship seemed untouched. For a while, she returned to her transatlantic voyages, but the emergence of faster, more efficient air travel gradually made the grand old ocean liners redundant. The Titanic's later years saw her converted into a floating hotel and museum, first in New York and then in her home city of Liverpool, England. Visitors could walk through her elegant rooms, dine in her luxurious restaurants, and hear stories of the rich history she had lived. Throughout the changing times, Titanic remained steadfast, embodying an era of grandeur and resilience, a timeless testament to human ambition, strength, and ingenuity. In the early 1950s, the Titanic began to show her age. Her once modern, innovative systems were becoming obsolete, and her opulent Edwardian interior started to look outdated compared to the sleek, modern aesthetics of the era. Seeing the sentimental and historical value the Titanic held, the White Star Line, now merged with Cunard, made the bold decision to give the old ship a new lease of life. In 1952, the Titanic was taken to the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, the very place she was born. An extensive overhaul and refurbishment project was initiated, intended to blend the classic elegance of the Titanic with the comfort and technology of the mid-20th century. The project was a Herculean task. Engineers and workers carefully preserved her iconic features, the grand staircase, the ornate carvings, the majestic first-class lounge, while implementing state-of-the-art navigation and safety systems. Her aging steam engines were replaced with more efficient and powerful diesel engines, her coal-fired boilers supplanted by cleaner, oil-fired ones. The staterooms and public areas were refurbished, with careful attention to maintain the original style, while also offering the comforts of contemporary living. Air conditioning was installed, and in a nod to the changing times, a movie theater was added. By 1955, the refurbishment was complete. The Titanic was reborn, a graceful fusion of past and present. Once again, she was the talk of the world, a symbol of nostalgia wrapped in modernity. The Titanic set sail on her second maiden voyage, this time from Liverpool to New York. The journey was a success, and she received a warm welcome in New York, a city that held many memories for the grand liner. The Titanic spent the rest of the 1950s and early 1960s as a unique offering in transatlantic travel. She appealed to those who preferred the romantic, slower pace of a ship voyage over the speed of air travel. She attracted history enthusiasts, fans of maritime, and those drawn to her enduring legend. However, as the 1960s rolled in, the popularity of air travel soared, and the demand for transatlantic liners decreased. The Titanic, in her grandeur and romance, could not compete with the speed and efficiency of airplanes. By the mid-60s, she was making fewer and fewer voyages, and her future looked uncertain. Recognizing the historical significance of the Titanic, in 1968, the Cunard White Star Line sold her to the city of Liverpool. The Titanic returned to her birthplace, this time to serve as a floating hotel, museum, and monument of maritime history. The Grand Liner, which had seen the turn of the century, 2 world wars, and the rise and fall of transatlantic voyages, was now ready to embrace her new role as the guardian of history, her decks echoing with the stories of a bygone era. The Titanic entered the 1970s as the most unique and storied hotel in the world, permanently docked in Liverpool's harbour. Her meticulously restored rooms and public spaces, resplendent with Edwardian grandeur, now hosted guests from all walks of life. Visitors could sip tea in the lavish first-class parlour, stroll on the famed promenade decks, or even spend a night in the opulent suites, once the domain of the world's richest. History enthusiasts, maritime scholars, and romantic souls flocked to the Titanic, reveling in the unique blend of history and luxury that only she could offer. The ship's grand dining hall, once a stage for the Edwardian elite's social theatre, was now a popular venue for events. From high-profile weddings to corporate functions, the Titanic played host, her indomitable spirit adding a touch of magic to each occasion. Her rich history, coupled with a trove of stories, gave the guests an immersive experience, transporting them to a bygone era. However, as the decade wore on, maintaining the century-old ship proved increasingly difficult and expensive. The cost of upkeep began to outweigh the revenue from guests and events. The novelty of staying in a floating hotel gradually faded, and the Titanic struggled to compete with modern, land-based hotels. By the late 70s, the Grand Liner was operating at a loss, and her future seemed bleak. In 1978, the city of Liverpool, unable to sustain the mounting costs, put the Titanic up for sale. Various proposals for her future were put forward, from converting her into a casino to scrapping her altogether. It seemed like the final chapter of Titanic's storied life was closing in, a dismal end to a ship once hailed as unsinkable. However, fate had another twist in store for the Titanic. A wealthy American entrepreneur and maritime history enthusiast, Robert Bob Sinclair, CEO of the Sinclair Expedition Company, came across the sale news. Sinclair, an adventurer at heart, saw an opportunity in the Titanic that others failed to see. In 1979, Sinclair purchased the Titanic with a vision to breathe new life into the ship, not as a luxury liner or a floating hotel, but as an expedition vessel. He imagined the Titanic exploring the world's remotest corners, her deck once again cutting through open seas, her timeless grandeur witness to new adventures and discoveries. Before she could set sail again, the Titanic required extensive overhaul and modernization. Sinclair spared no expense in the refurbishment. The ship was towed to a dry dock in Boston, where a team of expert naval architects, engineers, and restoration specialists embarked on the Herculean task of preparing the Titanic for her new journey. Over the next 2 years, the Titanic underwent a transformation. While her historical essence and Edwardian elegance were meticulously preserved, every system on board was modernized. Her diesel engines were replaced with cutting-edge nuclear propulsion, granting her unmatched range and endurance. The hull was reinforced with advanced composite materials, and her navigation systems were upgraded with the latest technology. A helipad was added for aerial exploration and emergency evacuations, while advanced research labs and underwater exploration equipment were installed, turning her into a fully equipped expedition vessel. By 1981, the work was complete. The Titanic was ready to embark on a new voyage, this time not as a symbol of luxury, but as a beacon of exploration and discovery. She set sail, her renewed engines humming with power, her decks once again a stage for human ambition. From the icy wilderness of Antarctica to the tropical waters of the Pacific Islands, the Titanic took researchers and scientists to the farthest corners of the world. She witnessed the marvels of the undersea world, her submarines diving into depths once thought unreachable. She braved polar storms, glided past icebergs, and played with dolphins. Every expedition added a new chapter to her enduring legend, making her a symbol of human curiosity and the spirit of exploration. The Titanic, once a marvel of human ambition, then a symbol of resilience, and later a guardian of history, had found yet another life, this time as a herald of exploration and discovery. She continued to brave the world's oceans, her story no longer a tale of tragedy, but an ongoing saga of resilience, reinvention, and endless adventure. As the 1980s rolled in, the Titanic had embarked on a new, exciting chapter as an expedition vessel. Under Sinclair's vision, she was no longer just a testament to human ambition or a relic of a bygone era. The Titanic had become an active player in mankind's ongoing quest for knowledge and exploration. Sinclair, being a clever businessman and an avid historian, decided to retain the Titanic's meticulously preserved historical sections, allowing passengers to experience the grandeur and luxury of the past while partaking in cutting-edge scientific expeditions. This juxtaposition of old-world charm with modern exploration attracted not just scientists, but adventure enthusiasts, history buffs, and tourists alike. During the early 80s, the Titanic hosted a series of daring Arctic expeditions. Researchers aboard the ship made several breakthroughs in the study of polar marine biology, climatology, and geology. In the summer months, the ship offered unique tourism opportunities, allowing visitors to experience the majesty of polar landscapes without compromising on luxury and comfort. The mid-80s saw the Titanic venture into tropical waters. She became a mobile base for research on coral reef ecosystems, hosting a range of scientists from marine biologists to climatologists. She also offered expedition tours, allowing visitors to dive into crystal-clear waters and discover vibrant marine life, all while experiencing the unique history the Titanic carried within her steel bones. During these expeditions, the Titanic often faced rough seas and unfavorable weather conditions. But the grand old liner, with her reinforced hull and cutting-edge navigation systems, proved her mettle time and again. Each successful voyage solidified her reputation as the most prestigious and unique expedition vessel in the world. Sinclair's venture, however, wasn't just about scientific discovery or tourism. It was also about preserving and celebrating the Titanic's unique heritage. He ensured that the ship's illustrious history was kept alive through regular exhibitions, lectures, and guided tours, both for passengers on board and for visitors when the ship was in port. By the late 80s, the Titanic had explored remote corners of the world, from the icy wilderness of Antarctica to the uncharted islands of the South Pacific. Her remarkable rebirth and subsequent success as an expedition vessel had inspired a new generation of ocean enthusiasts and historians. She was no longer just a symbol of human ambition, nor was she a poignant reminder of tragedy. The Titanic had become a symbol of resilience and constant reinvention, her decks echoing with tales of the past even as they welcomed the challenges of the future. The close of the decade found the Titanic once again docked in her home city of Liverpool. As visitors poured in to welcome the new year on board the historic vessel, one couldn't help but marvel at the Titanic's remarkable journey. She had seen the turn of 2 centuries, survived 2 world wars, witnessed the rise and fall of her creators, the White Star Line, and braved countless storms. Yet, here she was, her lights glowing against the night sky, a testament to the enduring spirit of human invention, exploration, and resilience. As the clock struck midnight, signaling the advent of a new decade, one thing was clear: the Titanic's story was far from over. As the Titanic embarked on a new journey as an expedition vessel in the 1980s, the fates of her sister ships, the Olympic and Britannic, diverged in their own unique paths. The RMS Olympic, affectionately known as Old Reliable, had an illustrious career, serving both as a luxury liner and a troopship during World War I, mirroring Titanic's alternative history in our tale. However, the real-life Olympic didn't have the privilege of a refurbishment in the 1950s or the luck to be transformed into a hotel and later an expedition ship. Despite her reliable service, the Olympic couldn't escape the decline in the transatlantic passenger trade. The Great Depression hit the shipping lines hard. By the mid-1930s, the aging Olympic, with its outdated technology and interior, struggled to compete with more modern and efficient ships. She made her final commercial voyage in 1935, ending nearly a quarter-century of service. Unlike Titanic's fictional fate, the Olympic was sold to Sir John Jarvis in 1935, who then resold the ship to a British shipbreaking company. The Grand Liner was dismantled piece by piece in Jarrow, England, her fittings sold off in a series of public auctions. Many parts of the ship, including fixtures and panels, were repurposed and can be found in hotels and restaurants across the UK. Although the Olympic didn't enjoy the longevity of her fictional sister, her contributions during her service years and her role as Old Reliable are fondly remembered. On the other hand, the HMHS Britannic, the youngest of the trio, met an untimely end during World War I. Just like the Titanic in our tale, the Britannic was requisitioned by the British government and converted into a hospital ship. However, in 1916, under mysterious circumstances, she struck a mine or was hit by a torpedo from a German U-boat near the Greek island of Kea. Despite being equipped with enhanced safety measures in response to the Titanic disaster, the Britannic sank within an hour. The rapid sinking was due to many portholes being open at the time of the explosion for ventilation, a fatal error that led to water pouring into the ship far more quickly than the watertight doors could handle. Fortunately, the ship was carrying a relatively small number of patients and medical staff at the time, and the warm weather allowed for many survivors. Out of over 1,000 people on board, only 30 lives were lost, thanks in part to the lessons learned from the Titanic disaster about adequate lifeboat provision. Unlike her sisters, the Britannic rests at the bottom of the Aegean Sea, largely forgotten until famed underwater explorer Jacques Cousteau discovered her wreckage in 1975. Since then, the ship has been the subject of numerous expeditions and studies, providing valuable insights into ship design and safety improvements in the early 20th century. Her wreckage serves as a silent memorial, a poignant reminder of the perils of war, and the relentless march of human progress. In our alternate history, as the 1980s ended, the Titanic outlived her sisters, but their collective legacy was far from forgotten. Their stories of luxury, war, disaster, resilience, and exploration continue to captivate historians, ship enthusiasts, and the general public alike. Through their triumphs and tragedies, they continue to shape our understanding of maritime history and human ambition. As the 1990s dawned, the Titanic was entering her 8th decade of existence. Her once revolutionary technology had become commonplace, her grandeur somewhat normal against the backdrop of newer, more modern cruise liners. Yet, the Titanic's allure remained undiminished. She still commanded an aura of majesty, her rich history and distinctive Edwardian elegance setting her apart from her contemporaries. The 90s witnessed Titanic taking on more humanitarian roles alongside her scientific endeavors. She became instrumental in various relief efforts, her impressive size and facilities making her an effective mobile command center during natural disasters and other global crises. She remained an explorer at heart, though, continuing to host expeditions and research missions to remote corners of the world. In 1995, the Sinclair Expedition Company announced plans for a new ship. This vessel, christened the Neo-Titanic, was envisioned as a worthy successor to the original Titanic, blending the grandeur and elegance of the old with cutting-edge technology. As word spread, there was a palpable excitement in the air. People around the world eagerly anticipated the arrival of a ship that promised to carry forward the legacy of the most famous liner in history. Constructed in the same shipyard in Belfast where the original Titanic was built, the Neo-Titanic was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Every detail, from her sweeping grand staircase to her elegant first-class cabins, was designed to echo the luxurious Edwardian style of her namesake. Yet, beneath the opulence, the ship was fitted with the latest advancements in maritime technology, making her as safe and comfortable as any contemporary luxury liner. Launched in 1999, the Neo-Titanic was hailed as the perfect blend of history and modernity, a ship that could offer her passengers the romance and charm of the past alongside the comforts and conveniences of the present. She became an instant sensation, attracting guests from all over the world, eager to be a part of this unique maritime experience. Yet, even as the Neo-Titanic basked in her newfound glory, the original Titanic refused to be overshadowed. Recognizing that the Titanic's charm lay not just in her history but also in her spirit of exploration, Sinclair devised a plan to keep her relevant. While the Neo-Titanic would cater to luxury cruises and offer a taste of the past, the original Titanic would continue to carve her unique path as an exploration vessel. Sinclair made significant investments to ensure that the Titanic remained at the forefront of maritime exploration. Her research labs were upgraded with state-of-the-art equipment, Her expedition facilities were expanded, and her crew was provided with the most advanced training. Sinclair rebranded her as Titanic Explorer, focusing on the ship's mission of exploration and discovery. The Titanic embraced this new role with all her might. She ventured to remote locations, some never before visited by mankind. Scientists on board made breakthroughs in climate science, marine biology, and geology, adding to the Titanic's impressive list of achievements. Despite the arrival of her younger sister, the Titanic continued to make headlines, her exploits earning her the nickname the Grand Dame of Exploration. As the millennium drew to a close, both the Titanic and the Neo-Titanic sailed under the same banner, each offering a unique maritime experience. The Neo-Titanic represented a journey to the past, a voyage steeped in luxury and history. The Titanic, on the other hand, stood for the spirit of adventure and discovery, a testament to mankind's thirst for knowledge. Through all the advancements and changes, one thing remained constant: the Titanic, despite her age, refused to fade into obscurity. As she sailed into the new millennium, her story continued to be one of resilience, relevance, and perpetual renewal. And, while the Neo-Titanic basked in the glow of youthful excitement, she knew that she had a formidable legacy to live up to, a legacy crafted by her older sister over nearly a century of service. As the year 2000 dawned, the original Titanic and the Neo-Titanic, like two sisters of different generations, embarked on their respective journeys, each carrying the illustrious legacy of the Titanic name into the new millennium. The Neo-Titanic, in her opulence and grandeur, took to the seas as the embodiment of the romantic nostalgia of the past mingled with the state-of-the-art conveniences of the present. She catered to passengers seeking the luxury and elegance reminiscent of the golden age of transatlantic voyages, all while maintaining modern comforts and cutting-edge safety standards. Each voyage of the Neo-Titanic was an event in itself. Passengers dined in sumptuously decorated Edwardian-style dining rooms, danced in grand ballrooms, and enjoyed an array of world-class entertainment options, all while traversing the Atlantic on the same route once taken by her legendary namesake. However, the Neo-Titanic was not just about luxury and nostalgia. She also featured a museum dedicated to the original Titanic, celebrating her illustrious history and impressive transformation into an expedition vessel. In contrast, the Titanic, now rebranded as the Titanic Explorer, was attracting an entirely different clientele. Her upgraded research labs and state-of-the-art exploration equipment attracted scientists and researchers worldwide. Yet, she wasn't exclusive to the scientific community. Adventure seekers, environmentalists, and students also boarded the Titanic Explorer, eager to witness the magic of discovery and exploration firsthand. The Titanic Explorer continued her globe-trotting exploits, from the icy realms of Antarctica to the tropical waters of the Great Barrier Reef. In 2002, a groundbreaking study on climate change was conducted aboard the Titanic Explorer, which played a significant role in our understanding of global warming. In 2004, she hosted a historical underwater expedition to explore the wreckage of her real-life sister ship, the Britannic, collecting valuable data that offered new insights into early 20th century maritime history. As the Titanic and Neo-Titanic sailed parallel paths, the Sinclair Expedition Company celebrated the distinct identities of the two vessels. It was a common sight during this period to see both ships docked side by side in various ports worldwide, the juxtaposition of the Titanic's weather-beaten yet dignified exterior against the Neo-Titanic's gleaming new hull drawing thousands of spectators. However, the dual success of the Titanic and Neo-Titanic was not without challenges. The maintenance and operational costs of both ships were considerable, especially the aging Titanic Explorer, which required frequent repairs and upgrades. The attack on the World Trade Center in 2001 led to a significant drop in transatlantic travel, impacting the profitability of the Neo-Titanic. Yet, despite these setbacks, both vessels continued to sail, their indomitable spirit standing as a testament to the enduring legacy of the Titanic. By 2005, the Neo-Titanic had firmly established herself as a premier luxury cruise liner, while the Titanic Explorer had become a symbol of maritime exploration and scientific discovery. The year 2005 marked the Titanic's 93rd anniversary, a milestone celebrated worldwide. As the Titanic Explorer sailed into the sunset, her aging decks brimming with eager researchers and her hull echoing with the whispers of her storied past, it was clear that the spirit of the Titanic, resilient, defiant, and timeless, lived on, undiminished by the passage of time. The period between 2005 and 2010 was a time of consolidation and reflection for both the Titanic and the Neo-Titanic. Despite various challenges, they continued to sail the oceans of the world, each carrying the Titanic legacy in their unique ways. The Titanic explorer remained at the forefront of maritime exploration and scientific research. The ship continued to host a diverse range of scientists and researchers, leading to several significant discoveries in marine biology, oceanography, and climate science. One of her most notable achievements during this period was the discovery of a previously unknown species of deep-sea coral off the coast of New Zealand in 2007. Moreover, the Titanic explorer also served as a floating classroom, providing a unique educational platform for students worldwide. The ship's Classrooms at Sea program attracted thousands of students every year, offering them hands-on experience in marine exploration and environmental studies. Despite her advancing age, the Titanic explorer remained remarkably resilient. Regular refurbishments and upgrades kept her seaworthy and up to the task of handling the rigors of deep-sea exploration. However, the costs of maintenance were steadily increasing, and by 2009, the Sinclair Expedition Company began to explore potential partnerships with academic institutions and environmental organizations to secure additional funding for the Titanic explorer's operations. Meanwhile, the Neo-Titanic continued to captivate the public with her blend of historical charm and modern luxury. She quickly became the epitome of a unique cruising experience, offering passengers a chance to step back in time while enjoying all the comforts of the 21st century. Her popularity only grew over the years, with bookings often made years in advance. In 2008, the Neo-Titanic made headlines when she recreated the original Titanic's maiden voyage. The journey, starting from Southampton and ending in New York, was sold out months in advance, with passengers from all walks of life eager to be a part of this historic event. In addition to her regular cruises, the Neo-Titanic also hosted several special events, including film festivals, historical conventions, and even a few weddings. However, the most significant event took place in 2010 when the ship was chartered by a Hollywood production company to serve as the setting for a major motion picture set in the early 20th century. The film, a historical drama, was a huge success, further boosting the Neo-Titanic's reputation and popularity. Despite their distinct paths, the Titanic and the Neo-Titanic remained linked, bound together by the weight of their shared history. The original Titanic, with her explorer's heart and aged elegance, and the Neo-Titanic, with her nostalgic charm and modern luxury, became iconic symbols of the enduring fascination with the golden age of transatlantic travel. By 2010, both the Titanic and the Neo-Titanic had carved their respective niches and were sailing strong, the grandeur of their namesake living on in their continued voyages. The Titanic had not only survived but had defied the odds to remain a vital and relevant part of the world's maritime landscape. The period from 2010 to 2014 was marked by new challenges and opportunities for both the Titanic and the Neo-Titanic. While they continued their distinctive voyages, the Sinclair Expedition Company had ambitious plans on the horizon. In 2012, Sinclair announced plans for another sister ship. This ship, christened the Titanic Nova, was envisioned to be the pinnacle of modern maritime technology, a vessel that would not just carry forward the legacy of the Titanic, but redefine it. Construction began in a flurry of excitement and anticipation. The Titanic Nova was being built in the same shipyard as her predecessors, but she would be nothing like them. Envisioned as a smart ship, the Titanic Nova was designed with advanced AI systems, cutting-edge navigation equipment, and energy-efficient propulsion systems. Unlike the Neo-Titanic, which harkened back to the past, the Titanic Nova was designed to look forward, a true ship of the future. Meanwhile, both the Titanic Explorer and the Neo-Titanic continued their respective journeys. The Titanic Explorer was showing her age, but she remained a robust research vessel. The Classrooms at Sea program was thriving, attracting students and educators worldwide. In 2013, the Titanic Explorer undertook a significant expedition to the Arctic, contributing valuable data to the study of climate change. The Neo-Titanic, meanwhile, remained a popular luxury liner, her voyages frequently sold out. Her historical charm continued to captivate guests, and she garnered accolades for her unique cruising experience. In 2013, she hosted a centennial celebration of the original Titanic's launch, which attracted historians, maritime enthusiasts, and Titanic fans from around the globe. However, the impending arrival of the Titanic Nova cast a shadow of uncertainty over both ships. Could they continue to hold their own in the face of such advanced competition? The Neo-Titanic, for all her charm, lacked the cutting-edge amenities offered by other luxury liners, while the Titanic Explorer was grappling with increasing maintenance costs and the physical limitations of an aging vessel. When the Titanic Nova was finally launched in 2014, she was nothing short of breathtaking. Her sleek, futuristic design was a stark contrast to her older siblings. Inside, she was equipped with state-of-the-art technology, from AI-guided navigation systems to smart cabins that adjusted their settings according to passenger preferences. She was a marvel, a ship truly worthy of the 21st century. Yet, even as the Titanic Nova embarked on her maiden voyage, the Titanic and the Neo-Titanic refused to be outdone. The Sinclair Expedition Company pledged to continue supporting both ships, recognizing their unique contributions. The Titanic, with her spirit of exploration, and the Neo-Titanic, with her historical charm, still had a place in the world, even as the future, embodied by the Titanic Nova, sailed towards the horizon. Despite the looming uncertainty, the Titanic and the Neo-Titanic pressed on, their legacy undiminished. They had seen the rise and fall of eras, the advent of new technologies, and the changing tides of public sentiment. And through it all, they had sailed on, steadfast and indomitable, the essence of the Titanic spirit alive in their aged hulls. As the Titanic Nova embarked on her pioneering voyages, attracting global attention and acclaim, the older sisters faced the inevitable challenges of competing in an ever-evolving industry. The years 2014 to 2016 were particularly trying for the Titanic Explorer. Despite her iconic status and vital contributions to scientific research, the Titanic Explorer struggled with escalating operational costs and declining interest from the public and potential partners. The Sinclair Expedition Company, having invested heavily in the construction and launch of the Titanic Nova, found it increasingly difficult to finance the Explorer's costly upkeep. In late 2015, facing mounting pressures, Sinclair made the difficult decision to withdraw funding for the Titanic Explorer. This news was met with dismay and protests from the scientific community and Titanic enthusiasts. However, the economic reality was stark and undeniable. However, just as the future seemed uncertain, a ray of hope emerged. The Preserve the Titanic campaign, spearheaded by a global coalition of scientists, historians, and maritime enthusiasts, gained momentum in early 2016. The campaign aimed to secure funding to preserve the Titanic Explorer, not just as a functioning research vessel, but as a living piece of history. The campaign was a resounding success, drawing attention and donations from around the world. Inspired by this global show of support, a group of private investors, philanthropists, and academic institutions, known as the Titanic Trust, came forward with a proposal. They would purchase the Titanic Explorer, ensure her maintenance and operational costs, and guarantee her continued use as a vessel for research and education. Sinclair, recognizing the passion and commitment of the Trust, agreed to the proposal. In mid-2016, the Titanic Explorer was officially transferred to the Titanic Trust. The Trust pledged to uphold the legacy of the ship, honoring her illustrious past while ensuring her continued relevance in the field of maritime exploration. Meanwhile, the Neo-Titanic, though experiencing her share of challenges, continued to hold her own as a unique luxury liner. Her niche appeal and historical charm were still strong draws for passengers seeking an out-of-the-ordinary cruising experience. Though the glitz and glam of the Titanic Nova did overshadow her somewhat, she retained a loyal following and remained profitable. As for the Titanic Nova, her voyages were met with praise and excitement. The smart ship was making waves in the industry, drawing a new generation of passengers with her advanced amenities and futuristic design. Even as she charted her own course, she was a reminder of the enduring legacy of the Titanic, a testament to the spirit of innovation and resilience that defined her namesake. As 2016 drew to a close, each of the three sister ships, the Titanic Explorer, the Neo-Titanic, and the Titanic Nova, sailed their own paths, bound by their shared legacy yet differentiated by their unique identities. Their story was a testament to the enduring allure of the Titanic, a story of survival, transformation, and resilience. The years following the acquisition of the Titanic Explorer by the Titanic Trust saw a revitalization of the venerable ship. The Trust, driven by its commitment to maritime research and preservation of historical artifacts, undertook a comprehensive refurbishment project in late 2016. This was not to modernize the ship, but to restore and maintain her historic appeal while ensuring she remained seaworthy and suitable for scientific exploration. The Titanic Explorer spent most of 2017 in dry dock, undergoing extensive renovations. The hull was reinforced, the engines were overhauled, and much of the internal systems were meticulously restored or replaced. Simultaneously, great care was taken to preserve the historical character of the ship, with restoration experts painstakingly refurbishing original fixtures and fittings. Meanwhile, the Explorer's research facilities received a significant upgrade. The labs were expanded, and new scientific equipment was installed, facilitating a broader range of research activities. This reaffirmed the Titanic Explorer's position as a premier research vessel, capable of contributing significantly to global maritime science. By early 2018, the Titanic Explorer was back in service. Her first expedition under the Titanic Trust was a voyage to the Antarctic, a tribute to one of her most successful missions during her time with the Sinclair Expedition Company. The expedition, comprising scientists from various disciplines, led to several important discoveries, re-establishing the Explorer's relevance in the scientific community. The Neo-Titanic continued her operations as a luxury cruise liner. Despite the competition from more modern and technologically advanced ships, including her sister the Titanic Nova, she retained her unique appeal. The ship's management capitalized on her historical charm, curating experiences that recreated the opulence of early 20th century transatlantic voyages. This included themed events, period-appropriate dining and entertainment, and lectures by historians. These efforts paid off, as bookings remained strong, and passenger feedback was overwhelmingly positive. The Titanic Nova, on the other hand, continued to embody the cutting edge of maritime technology. She remained a popular choice for those seeking a futuristic cruising experience. Her advanced AI systems, eco-friendly operations, and innovative onboard amenities set new standards in the industry. Yet, even as she charted her own path, she carried forward the Titanic legacy. Regular exhibitions and presentations on board the ship ensured that passengers were well aware of the rich history that inspired her creation. By the end of 2018, the three sister ships had each carved out their own distinct identity while still maintaining a strong connection to their shared legacy. The Titanic Explorer, revitalized and relevant, continued her journey of discovery. The Neo-Titanic sailed on as a floating testament to a bygone era of luxury and opulence. The Titanic Nova, innovative and futuristic, embodied the forward-looking spirit of the Titanic lineage. Each sister ship, in its own unique way, perpetuated the timeless allure of the Titanic, the unsinkable ship that sailed on in the hearts of people across the globe. In mid-2018, an exciting announcement came from the offices of the Sinclair Expedition Company. The Titanic Nova had been chartered for an unprecedented series of expeditions to the Arctic, the likes of which had never been attempted before. This journey was titled Project Arctic Nova, signifying a new dawn in Arctic exploration. The aim of Project Arctic Nova was not just to take passengers on a unique journey through the Arctic Circle but to engage in comprehensive scientific research, contributing to the understanding of this fragile and vital ecosystem. The scope of the project was staggering, to undertake multi-year, multidisciplinary expeditions involving teams of scientists from around the globe. Given the Titanic Nova's cutting-edge technology, she was uniquely equipped to handle the rigors of Arctic exploration. Her eco-friendly propulsion systems were particularly advantageous, minimizing environmental impact in a region where preservation was crucial. As the news spread, there was a surge of interest from scientific communities worldwide. Teams were assembled, covering a broad range of fields, including climate science, marine biology, geology, and anthropology. In addition, educators, students, and adventure tourists from all corners of the globe sought bookings for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Simultaneously, the Titanic Trust decided to collaborate with Sinclair to ensure that the historical context was not lost in this modern expedition. They offered the newly refurbished Titanic Explorer to join the expedition as a secondary research vessel and historical consultant. The Neo-Titanic, too, found a way to participate. She arranged a series of themed cruises that followed a safe distance behind the expedition, offering passengers a curated Arctic experience. This included lectures about the Arctic's historical exploration, showcases of Arctic flora and fauna, and breathtaking views of the Northern Lights. The first voyage of Project Arctic Nova set off in the late summer of 2018, the Titanic Nova leading the way, flanked by the Titanic Explorer and followed by the Neo-Titanic. It was an awe-inspiring sight to see the three sister ships sailing together, each contributing to the project in its unique way. Project Arctic Nova's first year was an incredible success. The multidisciplinary teams on the Titanic Nova made several key discoveries related to climate change and Arctic wildlife. Meanwhile, the Titanic Explorer contributed valuable historical context to the findings, while the Neo-Titanic provided a front-row seat to the curious public. Press coverage was extensive, and public interest was piqued, the world eagerly following the progress of this extraordinary Arctic expedition. As 2018 drew to a close, the three ships returned to port for a brief respite before embarking on the next leg of the multi-year project. There was a sense of great anticipation as preparations were made for the next year's voyage. The story of the Titanic legacy continued to unfold, with the spirit of exploration, discovery, and historical preservation at its heart. The Arctic, with its rugged beauty and untold mysteries, was the new frontier, and the three Titanic sister ships were at the forefront of this exciting journey. In early 2019, the sister ships embarked on the second phase of Project Arctic Nova. The anticipation was palpable as each vessel, the Titanic Nova, the Titanic Explorer, and the Neo-Titanic, departed from the port, each following the same path towards the Arctic but with different roles and expectations. The Titanic Nova, with her advanced technology and state-of-the-art research facilities, led the expedition. The ship was abuzz with activity, as scientists from various fields undertook their respective tasks. Climate scientists were constantly monitoring and recording atmospheric and oceanic conditions, predicting and tracking weather patterns with meticulous attention. Marine biologists were excitedly observing and cataloging the myriad sea creatures encountered on the voyage, from schools of fish to pods of whales. Geologists studied the composition of the seawater, hoping to gain insight into the geological history of the Arctic region. In addition to the scientific research, the Titanic Nova's expedition also had an educational aspect. Several of the scientists on board were teachers, committed to sharing their knowledge and experience with a broader audience. Using the ship's advanced telecommunication systems, they conducted live video sessions with schools and universities around the world. Students from different continents could watch real-time scientific research happening in the middle of the ocean, ask questions, and even suggest experiments. It was a unique blend of exploration and education, a testament to the Titanic Nova's innovative mission. Meanwhile, the Titanic Explorer followed closely behind. Despite her age, she was still an incredibly robust and reliable vessel, now filled with historians and veteran explorers who were chronicling the expedition. The historians spent their time meticulously documenting the voyage, comparing it to historical expeditions and noting how the science, technology, and understanding of the environment had changed over time. Veteran explorers shared their experiences and survival strategies, providing practical knowledge to the teams on the Nova. Aboard the Neo-Titanic, the atmosphere was somewhat different. Here, the journey was more about experience than scientific discovery. The passengers, while not directly involved in the research, were nonetheless part of the adventure. They attended lectures about the Arctic, given by experts in the field, and watched real-time footage of the Nova's activities. They also enjoyed the stunning views, recreational activities, and luxurious amenities the Neo-Titanic had to offer, making the cruise both educational and enjoyable. As the sister ships moved closer to the Arctic, the excitement grew. Icebergs began to appear on the horizon, and the temperature dropped noticeably. For many on board, this was their first experience of the stark beauty of the Arctic. Despite the challenges, spirits were high, and everyone was eagerly looking forward to reaching the destination. The initial stages of the journey were a testament to the enduring allure of exploration, the human thirst for knowledge, and the commitment to preserving history and the environment. As the ships continued their course, the world watched and waited, eager to see what new discoveries Project Arctic Nova would uncover. As the trio of vessels continued their journey north, they were greeted by a new challenge. The navigation team on the Titanic Nova received reports of a massive ice field in their path. According to satellite data, the ice field was larger and denser than any they had previously encountered. At first, the reports were met with a sense of excitement. The scientists aboard saw the ice field as a unique opportunity to observe and study the Arctic's ice structures up close. They quickly prepared their equipment, eager to collect data that could prove invaluable for their research. However, the excitement was tempered by a sense of caution. The ship's captains, experienced seafarers who had faced many such situations, knew that ice fields could be treacherous. They convened a meeting to discuss the situation and possible courses of action. In the discussion, the team recognized that changing course would result in a significant delay in their expedition. There was also a prevailing sentiment among the crew, perhaps fueled by the success of their journey so far, that they could handle the situation. The Titanic Nova was, after all, a modern marvel of maritime technology, equipped with advanced navigation systems and an ice-strengthened hull. Thus, a decision was made to proceed with caution but not to deviate from their planned course. The captains announced the decision to their respective crews and passengers. On the Titanic Nova and the Titanic Explorer, the announcement was met with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The scientific teams were thrilled at the prospect of studying the ice field up close, even as they understood the risks involved. Aboard the Neo-Titanic, the passengers were more concerned, but the crew reassured them, explaining the Nova's advanced capabilities and the extensive experience of their navigators. With the decision made, the sister ships continued their approach towards the ice field, their radars and sonars working overtime to detect and track the ice formations. As the first signs of the looming ice field appeared on the horizon, a wave of anticipation swept across the ships. The Titanic legacy, built on a historical brush with ice, now seemed intertwined with the ice once again. For the crews, scientists, and passengers aboard, it was a moment of intense excitement, laced with a hint of fear. But overriding this was a sense of determination, a commitment to their mission of exploration and discovery. As they sailed onward, the world held its breath, watching the ghost of the Titanic's past coming face to face with the promise of its future. As the silhouette of the colossal ice field came into view, the trio of vessels slowed their speed, proceeding with utmost caution. The ship's radar systems worked tirelessly, mapping out a path through the treacherous icy labyrinth. It was an eerie sight, the vast expanse of floating icebergs bathed in the polar twilight, casting long shadows on the icy waters. On board the Titanic Nova, the crew was fully alert, their eyes focused on the radar screens and the expanse of ice before them. The marine biologists and climate scientists were ready with their equipment, eager to gather as much data as they could. Despite the looming threat, there was an undeniable sense of excitement, an opportunity to experience the Arctic's raw beauty up close. On the Titanic Explorer, the historians were documenting every moment, capturing photographs, writing detailed descriptions, and drawing comparisons with historical Arctic expeditions. The older members of the crew, with their wealth of maritime experience, shared their insights and lent a hand in navigating the ice field. The Neo-Titanic, trailing behind her sister ships, was a hub of anxious activity. Her passengers watched the unfolding scene from their vantage point, a mix of fear and awe on their faces. The crew did their best to reassure them, reminding them of the modern maritime safety measures in place. However, as the size and density of the ice field became apparent, the captain of the Neo-Titanic made a decision. Given the ship's primary role as a luxury cruise liner and the safety of the passengers on board, he decided to turn back. The Neo-Titanic would take a detour, circumventing the ice field and rejoining her sister ships at a safer point further north. The decision was announced to the passengers, and despite initial disappointment, there was a palpable sense of relief. Many were content to enjoy the Arctic's beauty from a safer distance, happy to leave the braving of the ice field to their more adventure-suited sister ships. As the Neo-Titanic turned around, the passengers watched the Titanic Nova and the Titanic Explorer grow smaller in the distance, wishing them safe passage. Meanwhile, the Titanic Nova and the Titanic Explorer pressed on, their crews fully aware of the challenges ahead. The ice field was a mesmerizing spectacle of nature, an embodiment of the Arctic's brutal yet captivating personality. As they ventured further into the ice field, they encountered their first icebergs, colossal structures of pure, glistening ice, a sight to behold. Even as they admired the spectacle, the crews stayed vigilant, expertly steering their vessels, dodging larger icebergs and navigating through narrow passages. The atmosphere was tense but exhilarating, a testament to humanity's unyielding spirit of exploration and discovery. Inch by inch, mile by mile, the Titanic Nova and the Titanic Explorer pressed on, getting closer to the Arctic with every passing moment. Their journey was just beginning. As the Titanic Nova and the Titanic Explorer ventured further into the ice field, the sky above began to darken ominously. The calm, chilly atmosphere gradually gave way to an escalating tension as reports came in of an impending storm. The weather scientists on board the Titanic Nova began tracking the storm, predicting its path, and estimating its intensity. Despite the risk, there was an undeniably enthralling element to it, the raw power of nature set against the backdrop of the Arctic's breathtaking beauty. But the storm, with its powerful winds and blinding snow, was a formidable adversary. It was a sobering reminder of the often unpredictable and brutal nature of the Arctic. As the storm approached, the captains of both ships decided to halt their progress through the ice field temporarily. Anchoring their ships as securely as possible, they prepared for the oncoming tempest. The crew battened down hatches, secured loose equipment, and made sure all passengers and scientists were safe inside the ship. Then the storm hit, a chilling maelstrom of blinding snow and roaring wind that enveloped the two ships in a turbulent Arctic embrace. The ferocious gusts howled through the ice field, hurling snow in all directions and obscuring visibility. It was an awe-inspiring spectacle, a test of endurance, and a confrontation with the raw, untamed elements of the Arctic. Meanwhile, the Neo-Titanic, having successfully avoided the ice field, received the storm warning from her sister ships. The captain decided to err on the side of caution, despite the storm being a significant distance away. He announced over the loudspeakers that they were altering course to head for the nearest port. Although their journey was cut short, the safety of the passengers and crew was of paramount importance. The luxury liner began its steady journey southwards, leaving the Arctic's icy clutches behind. Back within the storm, the Titanic Nova and the Titanic Explorer held steadfast. Despite the storm's fury, their robust structures and state-of-the-art equipment kept them safe. The crews, although apprehensive, were also seasoned sailors. They knew the value of patience and resilience in such circumstances. The scientists on board turned this into an opportunity to study the Arctic storm's dynamics, gathering valuable data about Arctic weather patterns. The storm continued to rage on, a symphony of wind, snow, and ice against the steadfast vessels. Inside the ships, it was a waiting game, a test of endurance and patience. The world watched with bated breath as the sister ships faced this Arctic tempest, their indomitable spirit a beacon in the blinding snowstorm. As the storm escalated in intensity, the Titanic Nova was subjected to increasingly hostile conditions. The strength of the winds, coupled with the turbulent waves, began to shift the massive vessel violently. Try as they might, the crew had limited control in the face of the storm's fury. The ship creaked and groaned under the strain, a testament to the fierce power of the Arctic storm. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was tense. Scientists were confined to their quarters, and non-essential crew members were ordered to stay put. All were instructed to remain calm, yet an undercurrent of concern ran through everyone. The Titanic Nova, for all its modernity and robustness, was being tested by the storm like never before. As the storm grew, the ship's movements became more erratic, pitching and rolling on the swelling waves. The constant battering and bone-shaking jolts added a new level of difficulty to the situation. Each crash of the waves against the hull was a stark reminder of their perilous situation. Then, amidst the chaos, came a sound that sent chills down everyone's spine, a loud, groaning scrape. Instantly, the crew knew what it meant. They were hitting ice. The radar screens confirmed their worst fears. Large chunks of ice were being hurled towards them by the winds, creating a deadly obstacle course. The captain of the Titanic Nova ordered an immediate assessment of the hull. Despite the treacherous conditions, a team of divers was dispatched to assess the damage. Clad in heavy-duty diving suits and equipped with powerful underwater flashlights, they ventured into the icy, churning waters. What they discovered was alarming. The repeated collisions with the ice had resulted in breaches in the hull. The ship was taking on water. The news sent a ripple of concern through the crew. Immediate damage control was necessary. All available hands were deployed for repair and damage control. The pumps were activated to remove the water, and makeshift patches were applied to the breaches. Every crew member worked tirelessly, knowing that their ship's survival depended on their efforts. Meanwhile, the Titanic Explorer, despite being just a few miles away, was helpless amidst the storm. The storm made any rescue attempt impossible. Their sister ship was on her own, for the time being. The situation was dire. The storm was relentless, and the ice presented a constant danger. However, the crew of the Titanic Nova refused to succumb to fear. Despite the odds, they worked with determination and tenacity, battling against the storm, the ice, and time. The Titanic Nova, once the proud symbol of human ingenuity and endurance, was now in a battle for survival. Her crew, scientists, and the world watching could only hope and work tirelessly, praying that she would weather the storm and emerge victorious against this unexpected adversity. As the crew of the Titanic Nova worked diligently to mend the damage and stem the incoming water, the storm outside raged on with unrelenting fury. The radar operators, their eyes glued to the screens, tracked the path of every ice chunk within the storm's grasp. Amidst the blips and echoes, a much larger mass started to appear on their monitors, moving erratically but progressively closer to the Titanic Nova. A gigantic iceberg, swept up by the storm's force, was heading straight for them. An alarm sounded throughout the ship, a piercing call to action. Every available hand was directed to brace for impact and prepare for immediate damage control. The iceberg loomed ominously in the dark, growing larger by the second as it was propelled by the wind. With a deafening crash that echoed through the hull, the iceberg collided with the Titanic Nova. The impact was colossal, jarring the ship violently and sending shockwaves through its structure. The vessel creaked and groaned under the strain, a chilling testament to the sheer force of nature they were up against. The iceberg scraped along the side of the ship, creating a series of alarming sounds, scraping metal, twisting structures, and finally, an ominous silence. As the iceberg drifted away, the ship shuddered, a stark contrast to the relentless howling of the storm outside. The immediate aftermath was a chaos of alarms and orders. Teams were dispatched to assess the damage, braving the hostile weather to inspect the hull. Inside, water was seeping in from several points, the frigid Arctic Sea threatening to claim the ship. Emergency repairs commenced once more, the crew now working against both the storm and the influx of icy water. The power of the pumps was increased, and temporary patches were applied with an urgency driven by the escalating situation. Throughout this ordeal, the Titanic Explorer was desperately trying to navigate closer, the captains aware that their sister ship was in dire straits. However, the storm continued to thwart their efforts, rendering any immediate assistance impossible. Amid the turmoil, the spirit of the crew remained unbroken. Their faces were etched with determination, their actions swift and decisive. They were in the belly of the storm, their ship damaged, but they refused to surrender. If anything, the perilous situation reinforced their resolve. The Titanic Nova would not go down without a fight. It was a battle of man and machine against nature, and the world watched, praying for their victory. Meanwhile, on board the Titanic Explorer, their sister ship's predicament had sent waves of distress through the crew and passengers. Despite being in the same storm, the explorer had been fortunate to avoid the major ice chunks, but the escalating situation on the Nova was a grim reminder of their own vulnerability. The captain tried to maintain an air of calm, issuing orders with a steady voice and firm demeanor. He knew the importance of morale in such situations. Fear was a virulent contagion in closed quarters, and he would not allow it to spread. Their mission was clear: get as close as possible to the Nova to provide assistance, weather and ice permitting. Navigators worked tirelessly, plotting courses through the ice field that offered the least resistance and the smallest chance of collision. Engineers kept a vigilant watch on the ship's systems, ready to address any issues at a moment's notice. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was tense. The storm, the reports from the Nova, and the uncertainty of their own situation made for a nerve-wracking environment. Non-essential crew and passengers were ordered to stay in their quarters. The common rooms, usually filled with chatter and camaraderie, were eerily quiet, the storm's howl the only sound to break the silence. But the crew was not without resolve. The situation on the Nova served as a stark reminder of the dangers they faced, but it also hardened their determination. They were trained for this, prepared for the rigors and unpredictability of Arctic exploration. Despite the tension, there was a sense of purpose, a collective strength born from the shared adversity. Amid the turmoil, there was an incident in the engine room. A power surge, caused by a particularly violent gust of wind, resulted in a temporary outage. For a moment, the engine room was plunged into darkness, the hum of the engines replaced by an eerie silence. This was immediately followed by the activation of the backup power supply, and the room was bathed in the dim, blue glow of the emergency lights. This power outage was short-lived, but it was another grim reminder of the storm's potential for devastation. The engineers worked quickly to restore full power, their actions deft and practiced. Within minutes, the main power was restored, and the ship was running smoothly again. Through all of this, the crew of the Titanic explorer maintained a sense of unity and purpose. Despite their anxiety for their sister ship, they understood that their own survival was paramount. They were a beacon of hope amidst the icy chaos, standing resilient against the storm's fury. And through it all, they kept their course, edging closer to the Titanic Nova with every passing minute. As the storm continued to show no mercy, the Titanic explorer and Titanic Nova were now caught in an icy dance of survival. With winds intensifying, the waves grew taller, each surge a menacing wall of water threatening to overwhelm the ships. On board the Titanic explorer, the relentless rocking and swaying were constant reminders of the storm's omnipresent threat. Yet, due to the efforts of a skilled crew and the favor of a course away from the most hazardous ice, the explorer remained relatively unscathed. Even so, the ship was on high alert, all systems monitored continuously for any sign of trouble. The distance between the two sister ships, the Titanic Explorer and Titanic Nova, was approximately 15 nautical miles, a relatively short distance in calm seas but an insurmountable gulf in the midst of an Arctic storm. Each attempted advance of the Explorer was thwarted by the storm's fury, making the gap seem even wider. Meanwhile, the Neo-Titanic, which had wisely diverted from its Arctic course at the first sign of the storm, was nearly 250 nautical miles away. While it was out of the immediate threat of the storm, it was too far to offer any timely aid. A sense of helpless concern hung in the air on board, the luxury and calm a stark contrast to the chaos being experienced by the sister ships in the heart of the storm. Despite the distance, radio communication kept the three ships connected, each status report from the Titanic Nova a sobering reminder of the severity of their situation. The Nova's reports of water ingress and hull damage painted a grim picture. The explorer's inability to close the distance added to the tension, their helplessness a bitter pill to swallow. Yet, amidst the tumultuous waves and biting wind, the spirit of unity was undeterred. The crews of all three ships knew they were in this together. Each update, each attempt to close the distance, each patch applied to the hull of the Nova, was a testament to their shared resolve. They would face this storm as one, no matter the distance separating them. Back on the Titanic Nova, the scene was one of controlled chaos. With the hull integrity compromised by the iceberg impact, the crew and expedition members worked in synchrony to mitigate the damage. As water seeped into lower compartments, every available hand, irrespective of their usual roles, pitched in to help. This was a fight for survival, and everyone had a part to play. The ship's engineers and maintenance crew were at the helm of this operation. Clad in heavy-duty waterproof gear, they ventured into the frigid, waterlogged compartments, carrying out temporary patch UPS and directing the pumping operation. They worked against the clock, aware that the water's pressure was steadily increasing and that any delay could be catastrophic. The ship's upper decks were transformed into makeshift operation centers. Here, senior officers and scientists charted the ship's course, assessed the damage, and devised strategies to manage the situation. Everyone had a task, and all worked with a single-minded focus. The ship's communication team maintained a steady contact with both sister ships. Every detail was shared: the extent of the damage, the status of the repair works, their location. The connection with the Titanic Explorer and Neo-Titanic was a lifeline in the truest sense. Despite the storm's fury, the Titanic Nova's engines kept running. Every effort was made to keep her steady and maintain forward momentum, reducing the risk of further ice collision. The ship's course was adjusted to take her along the path of least ice resistance, and every opportunity was taken to steer her clear of the more massive ice chunks. Throughout this ordeal, the crew of the Titanic Nova showed a determination and resilience that echoed the ship's historic lineage. Yes, the situation was grave, but the crew was not prepared to concede defeat. The ship's name Titanic had long stood for unsinkable strength and spirit. And even now, battered by the storm and riddled with damage, the Titanic Nova embodied that spirit. The storm continued to howl around them, the icy sea threatened to claim the ship, but on board the Titanic Nova, the fight was far from over. Every patched hole, every pumped-out gallon of water, every steady hum of the engine was a symbol of their resistance. In the face of adversity, they stood firm, fighting for every minute, every hour. Theirs was a battle against the odds, a testament to human courage and determination. As the hours passed, the relentless onslaught of the storm and the sea took a visible toll on the Titanic Nova. Despite the commendable efforts of the crew and their indefatigable spirit, the extent of the damage was growing increasingly severe. The harsh reality began to settle in: the Titanic Nova was in mortal peril. The ship's internal structure groaned and creaked under the pressure of the seawater that had infiltrated its hull. Every rivet and seam was under intense stress. The hull damage from the iceberg collisions had compromised her structural integrity. Even with the relentless pumping and patching efforts, the volume of incoming water continued to rise. The cold was another relentless enemy, turning every incoming drop of water into a frigid threat that lowered the ship's internal temperature, making the working conditions for the crew increasingly hazardous. Up on the bridge, the senior officers shared grim expressions. Their faces were etched with fatigue and worry, their eyes reflecting the stark truth. Captain Reynolds, a veteran mariner who had seen his share of storms and navigational challenges, had his gaze fixed on the radar screen. His hands, roughened by years at sea, gripped the wheel tightly. His silent determination was echoed in every heart on board. Meanwhile, the ship's radio room had turned into a hub of frantic activity. The Titanic Nova was in constant communication with her sister ships and the Coast Guard, sending out regular status updates and SOS messages. The raw data, coordinates, weather reports, damage assessments, were interspersed with very human notes of courage and fear. The kitchen staff worked to prepare hot meals for the crew, the galley alive with the clatter of pots and pans. The comforting smell of hot soup wafted through the air, a stark contrast to the biting cold outside. However, many of the crew had no time for a break, their meals taken in hurried bites as they worked. Every corridor, every room echoed with the ship's struggle for survival. The once grand and luxurious interiors of the Titanic Nova had been transformed into a battleground, every inch a testament to the ship's fight against the inevitable. But despite the grim situation, the Titanic Nova continued to battle. The storm was still howling, the waves still surging, the ice still a lurking threat, yet the ship remained afloat. Each passing hour was a victory in itself, a tribute to the sheer tenacity of man and machine against nature's wrath. However, as the ship entered the twilight hours, it became clear to all aboard the Titanic Nova, crew and expedition members alike, that their vessel was gravely wounded. The chilling Arctic seas were claiming her, piece by piece, moment by moment. The ship that had sailed through decades, witnessed history, and defied odds, was now locked in what seemed to be her final battle. But if the Titanic Nova was destined to meet her end here, in the icy grips of the Arctic storm, she would do so while fighting till her last breath. In the midst of the Arctic tempest, the Titanic explorer had been making steady, albeit slow, progress towards the Titanic Nova. Despite the storm's relentless fury, the skilled crew navigated the treacherous sea, trying to shorten the distance between the two beleaguered vessels. However, Mother Nature had another trial in store for the explorer. A monstrous wave, taller than anything they had faced so far, rose before the ship, its sheer size silhouetted against the storm-darkened sky. Alarm bells rang throughout the ship, warning of the imminent impact. With a crash that reverberated through the entire ship, the rogue wave hit the Titanic explorer. The impact was like a massive hammer blow, sending a shockwave through the vessel's superstructure. The ship tilted dangerously to one side under the force, objects not secured slid and crashed, and people who were not prepared were thrown off their feet. In the bridge, Captain Henderson gripped the wheel, his knuckles white with strain. He knew the explorer had been thrown off course, but right now, his primary concern was to stabilize the ship and prevent a capsize. Down in the engine rooms, the crew fought to maintain power. The rogue wave had disrupted the ship's systems, and several alarm lights blinked ominously on the control panels. Amid the cacophony of alarms and the eerie groaning of the ship, the engineers worked swiftly, their hands ablur as they adjusted valves, flipped switches, and performed rapid diagnostics. Above them, on the deck, the crew worked to secure loose items, tying down anything that could become a projectile if the ship was hit by another such wave. Despite the cold, the rain, and the fear, they worked tirelessly, their every action a testament to their determination. As the Titanic explorer fought to regain her bearings, the radio crackled to life. It was a distress call from the Titanic Nova, their coordinates and situation unchanged. Captain Henderson responded, updating them on their situation. With a sigh, he glanced at the ship's chronometer. It had been over 12 hours since the storm had started, and it felt like an eternity. They were 7 nautical miles from the Nova, their sister ship, a distance that seemed to increase with each passing second. But they were not giving up. Not yet. Despite the rogue wave, despite the storm, despite the sea, they would continue their rescue attempt. It was a promise, spoken in silence, a pact made by every heart on board the Titanic explorer. And so, with a renewed sense of determination, the Titanic explorer soldiered on, bruised and battered, but not beaten. This storm had proven its might, but the explorer was not ready to surrender. She was, after all, a Titanic, and she had a sister to save. The Titanic Nova, caught in the icy grip of the Arctic storm, had reached a critical point. As the freezing seawater relentlessly flooded into her damaged hull, the once majestic ship began to list noticeably to one side. The resemblance to a historical scenario, one that had been averted more than a century ago, was chillingly uncanny. The forward compartments, already submerged, were now completely filled with the frigid waters. The watertight bulkheads, once a symbol of the ship's unsinkability, were gradually giving way under the immense pressure. This resulted in a dangerous tilt, as the bow was dragged down by the weight of the water. Crew members and expedition scientists moved about with heightened urgency, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and determination. Some were frantically bailing water out of the flooded compartments, their efforts visibly waning as the icy water stubbornly rose. Others were rallying the passengers, directing them to don their warmest clothes and life jackets. In the face of mounting danger, calm and order prevailed over panic. Captain Reynolds, a solid presence on the bridge, issued commands with calm authority. His face was etched with tension, the lines deepening with each passing second. He ordered the lifeboats to be prepared and swung out, ready for launch. Yet, he continued to steer the ship forward, aiming to buy as much time as possible. Down in the engine room, the relentless battle against the cold water continued. The engineers, their faces smeared with oil and grim determination, toiled ceaselessly. The stokers kept feeding the boilers, the hot, sweaty atmosphere a stark contrast to the icy hell outside. The ship's engines continued to hum, a heartbeat in the cold stillness, keeping the ship alive. Throughout the Titanic Nova, distress flares were fired, painting the stormy night sky with their brief, brilliant light. The desperate calls for help continued to echo across the airwaves, reaching the Titanic explorer, and beyond to any ship in the vicinity. The passage of time was marked by the ticking of the ship's clocks, each second heavy with significance. As the Titanic Nova, wounded and struggling, slipped deeper into the freezing sea, the atmosphere on board became thick with anticipation and dread. Every creak and groan from the ship's structure, every rise in the water level, and every icy gust of wind was a haunting reminder of the historical event they were now inadvertently replicating. However, even as the situation worsened, the spirit of the Titanic Nova's crew and passengers remained unbroken. The ship that had defied fate once was fighting to do so again, every heart on board beating with the strength of the name they bore, Titanic. But as the minutes turned into hours, the icy sea claimed more of the Titanic Nova, the freezing waters lapping at the promenade decks. The ship was sinking, gradually, inexorably, echoing the tragic tale of an ancestor that had never met this fate. Each moment stretched into an eternity, a drawn-out struggle against the inevitable. Yet, even in the face of impending doom, the Titanic Nova fought on, refusing to bow down without a fight. After all, she was a Titanic, a symbol of resilience, endurance, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. Despite the Titanic Nova's heroic struggle, the Arctic Sea proved too great an adversary. Slowly but surely, the freezing water crept up the decks, the once resplendent halls and grand staterooms now echoing with the hollow, chilling sound of the sea's relentless advance. The ship was losing power in sections as the water reached the electrical circuits, plunging the once brightly lit passages into an eerie, cold darkness. On the bridge, Captain Reynolds was in constant communication with the Titanic explorer, updating them on their rapidly deteriorating situation. His seasoned voice carried a note of urgency that hadn't been there before. Time was running out, and he knew it. As the realization of the inevitable end began to dawn upon the passengers and crew, a different kind of activity took over the ship. The lifeboats, once a mere safety precaution, became the focus of everyone's attention. Crew members and scientists turned into makeshift sailors, helping the passengers into the lifeboats in an orderly fashion. The bitter cold bit into their skin, but they carried on, driven by the urgent need for survival. The Titanic Nova's SOS messages echoed through the icy wilderness, piercing the howling wind, reaching out to any vessel within range. The flares continued to streak across the stormy sky, their crimson trails visible for miles around, a desperate plea for help to the merciless sea. Meanwhile, the Titanic explorer was fighting her own battle, struggling to make headway in the storm. She was still a few nautical miles away, but every inch forward was a victory. Captain Henderson had the ship on full power, the engines vibrating with the effort, pushing against the storm's fury. Time seemed to stretch, the minutes turning into agonizing hours. Every lifeboat lowered into the dark, choppy sea was a tiny beacon of hope, bobbing precariously on the storm-lashed waves. The sight of the Titanic Nova, once a symbol of endurance and survival, succumbing to the sea was a heart-wrenching spectacle. Even as the stern of the ship began to rise, mirroring the dreadful image that history had ingrained in every mind, the remaining crew aboard the Titanic Nova did not abandon their posts. They continued to fight, to survive, to help. The ship might have been doomed, but the spirit of the Titanic lived on in them. In the midst of the chaos, the storm, and the looming disaster, there was a strange kind of calm, a unity born out of adversity. The mighty Titanic Nova, even in her last moments, served as a beacon of resilience and human spirit. Though she was sinking, she was far from defeated. The sea could claim the ship, but not the enduring legacy of the Titanic. The Titanic Nova, already listing heavily, reached a tipping point. The strain on the weakened hull became too much to bear, and the ship began to groan and shudder under the immense pressure. Passengers and crew, huddled in lifeboats or clinging to any available flotation device, held their breath as the unthinkable unfolded before their eyes. With a thunderous crack, the Titanic Nova's hull fractured, splitting open like a colossal wound. The once proud vessel, now torn in two, hung suspended for a moment, as if frozen in time, before the two sections began to separate. The sound that accompanied this devastating event was a sickening symphony of tearing metal and splintering wood, intermingled with gasps of shock and cries of disbelief. The forward section, laden with the weight of the engine room, came crashing down, causing a colossal splash as it sank into the icy depths. The rear section, still under power, remained afloat, a ghostly reminder of the doomed ship's former glory. Amidst the chaos and panic, those who had found themselves on the rear section clung to the hope that they might yet survive. The remaining crew, now numbering only a fraction of their original complement, scrambled to regain control and assess the situation. Emergency power flickered on, casting a dim, eerie glow on the desperate faces. Inside the bow section, trapped passengers and crew members fought against the rising water, their last moments a harrowing struggle against the inevitable. The air was thick with the sounds of frantic cries, pleas for help, and desperate prayers. The gravity of the situation was all too apparent as the icy water rose, swallowing the remaining pockets of air, sealing the fate of those trapped within. On the rear section, chaos reigned. The remaining lifeboats were launched with urgency, but the stormy seas made the process treacherous. Crew members braved the icy waters, pulling survivors on board, their strength and determination defying the odds. It was a race against time, as the stern section was precariously balanced, vulnerable to the sea's relentless onslaught. The power of the Titanic Nova's engines, still operational despite the ship's catastrophic break, propelled the stern section through the icy waves. It was a strange sight, a severed ship, forging ahead with a determined spirit, carrying those who had miraculously survived the initial disaster. The sound of the engines echoed through the storm, a haunting reminder of the ship's persistence, even in the face of its own demise. As the hours wore on, the rear section faced its own set of challenges. The storm showed no mercy, its relentless assault on the damaged vessel threatening to break it further. The crew struggled to keep the remaining sections afloat, battling against the elements and the constant threat of sinking. It was a cruel twist of fate, survival, but at the mercy of a hostile sea. The Titanic Nova, once a symbol of human ingenuity and grandeur, now lay broken and fragmented, a tragic reminder of the frailty of even the most magnificent creations. The story of the Titanic, so closely intertwined with the Nova, had taken an unexpected turn, leaving behind a legacy of awe, tragedy, and lessons learned. As the severed sections of the Titanic Nova fought to stay afloat, hope and despair mingled in the hearts of those who clung to life. The ship's ultimate fate remained uncertain, but the indomitable spirit of its survivors, both aboard the stern section and in the lifeboats scattered in the stormy sea, burned brightly amidst the darkness. The storm's fury raged on, unrelenting in its assault on the remaining stern section of the Titanic Nova. Buffeted by howling winds and towering waves, the ship, though broken, pressed forward under the power of its engines. But as fate would have it, the storm took an unexpected turn. Driven by the powerful gusts, the stern section was forcefully turned around, altering its course. The helpless survivors in the water, already battling against the icy cold and turbulent seas, now faced an added danger. The looming presence of the broken ship threatened to collide with those struggling to stay afloat. In the water, the cries for help grew louder as the survivors spotted the approaching stern section. Panic spread among them, the fear of being crushed or pulled under the wreckage fueling their desperation. They fought against the current, their bodies weak and exhausted, desperately trying to avoid the path of the ship. On board the stern section, the crew and remaining passengers became aware of the danger they inadvertently posed to the struggling survivors. Alarm bells rang out, and frantic calls were made to alter course, to avoid further catastrophe. But the storm's relentless grip made steering a challenge, and the ship seemed to have a mind of its own. Rescuers on lifeboats, already overwhelmed with the enormity of the situation, now faced the added burden of navigating around the unpredictable movements of the ship. Their hearts pounded with a mix of determination and dread, knowing that any misstep could lead to tragedy. In the water, the survivors battled against the elements and the approaching wreckage. Some managed to swim away, their strength and willpower pushing them beyond their limits. Others clung to any piece of debris they could find, desperately hoping to stay afloat and out of harm's way. As the stern section drew closer, the tension reached its breaking point. Time seemed to stand still as the ship and survivors teetered on the brink of a calamitous collision. It was a moment of sheer terror, an unbearable weight that hung heavy in the stormy air. And then, with a collective gasp, disaster was narrowly averted. The ship, carried by the storm's force, veered off course at the last moment, narrowly missing the mass of survivors in the water. It was a moment of reprieve, of collective relief, as the survivors watched the stern section pass by, its hulking presence a haunting reminder of the peril they had narrowly escaped. On board the ship, a mixture of gratitude and sorrow filled the air. The crew and passengers, witnessing the close call, realized the fragility of life and the gravity of the situation they found themselves in. They were survivors, bound by their shared experience, their lives forever intertwined by the tragic events that had unfolded. As the storm raged on, the stern section of the Titanic Nova continued its perilous journey. The survivors in the water, now spared from an immediate threat, struggled to regroup and find solace in their resilience. It was a bittersweet moment, a delicate balance between gratitude for survival and the overwhelming loss that had unfolded before their eyes. As the stern section of the Titanic Nova pressed on through the storm-lashed seas, fate dealt its final blow. In the distance, obscured by the dark and tumultuous waves, loomed an iceberg, silent and foreboding. Unseen and unexpected, it was an ominous presence in the chaos. With a bone-chilling crash, the stern section collided with the iceberg, a devastating impact that reverberated through the ship. Metal groaned and twisted, and the vessel shuddered violently under the force. The iceberg, a silent behemoth, remained impassive as the ship's fate was sealed. The collision sent shockwaves throughout the stern section. The damage was catastrophic, a culmination of the relentless onslaught endured by the ship. The hull breached, and water surged in with a vengeance. Panic and chaos erupted among those on board, the echoes of despair mingling with the storm's cacophony. The crew, now faced with yet another desperate battle against the encroaching waters, sprang into action. Their movements were swift and determined, but the situation had grown dire. Lifeboats were launched with a sense of urgency, as survivors scrambled to find a means of escape from the sinking vessel. In the water, the survivors who had managed to avoid the path of the stern section now faced an even graver threat. The frigid depths awaited them, their bodies weakened by the cold and exhaustion. With every passing moment, hope dwindled, replaced by a stark reality. As the Titanic Nova's stern section listed, its lights flickered and then succumbed to the overwhelming darkness. The once proud ship, now a broken and sinking hulk, became a haunting silhouette against the stormy night sky. It was a devastating scene, one that echoed the tragedy of the past, as history seemed to repeat itself in a cruel twist of fate. In the midst of the chaos and despair, acts of heroism and selflessness emerged. Crew members assisted passengers into lifeboats, sacrificing their own chances of survival. Strangers reached out to one another, offering comfort and support in the face of unimaginable tragedy. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, even in the darkest of hours. As the Titanic Nova's stern section slipped beneath the waves, it took with it the hopes, dreams, and lives of those who had found themselves caught in its final journey. The sea, now calm and unyielding, swallowed the remnants of the ship, leaving only a somber memorial to the lives lost. The storm, having played witness to this tragic spectacle, began to dissipate, its fury gradually subsiding. The Arctic expanse regained its eerie stillness, bearing witness to the stories of survival and loss, etching the memory of the Titanic Nova into the annals of maritime history. As the storm began to subside, the tempestuous seas gradually calmed, revealing a scene of devastation and tragedy. In the distance, the Neo-Titanic, having received the distress signals and reports of the Titanic Nova's demise, emerged from the safety of the port. Under the command of Captain Thompson, the ship set sail, bound for the area where the ill-fated Nova had met its final fate. On board the Neo-Titanic, a renewed sense of purpose took hold. The crew, now embarking on a mission of rescue and recovery, worked with a focused determination. Supplies were replenished, lifeboats prepared, and communication systems readied to coordinate efforts with the approaching Titanic explorer and other potential aid vessels. As the Neo-Titanic made its way through the calmer waters, hope mingled with apprehension. The survivors who had managed to escape the Titanic Nova and find refuge in lifeboats now spotted the distant silhouette of the approaching vessel. A glimmer of optimism broke through the veil of despair, knowing that help was at hand. Meanwhile, the Titanic explorer, having weathered the storm and navigated through treacherous seas, arrived on the scene. The crew had witnessed the sinking of the Titanic Nova and the subsequent struggle for survival. The sight of lifeboats adrift in the open sea and the haggard faces of survivors served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life. Rescue operations swung into action, a race against time to locate and retrieve the survivors. The crew of the Titanic explorer launched lifeboats, meticulously scanning the water's surface for any signs of life. The cries of the survivors, their voices filled with desperation and relief, guided the rescuers to their locations. Amidst the chaos and heartache, stories of courage and compassion emerged. Crew members from the Titanic explorer risked their own safety to pull survivors out of the frigid waters, offering warm blankets, comforting words, and the reassurance that they were safe now. Each life saved was a triumph against the odds, a testament to the unwavering spirit of humanity in the face of tragedy. As the Neo-Titanic drew closer, the combined efforts of the two ships intensified. The crew and rescue teams worked hand in hand, their actions driven by the urgency to save as many lives as possible. Lifeboats were shuttled between the ships, survivors were brought on board, and medical teams provided much-needed care and comfort. In the aftermath of the Titanic Nova's sinking, the survivors found solace in the warmth and safety of the rescue vessels. They were given shelter, nourishment, and support as they began the process of healing and recovery. The crew of both the Neo-Titanic and the Titanic Explorer, weary but resolute, dedicated themselves to this humanitarian mission, ensuring that no survivor was left behind. The ocean, once a merciless force that had claimed so many lives, now served as a backdrop to tales of resilience and compassion. The legacy of the Titanic Nova, despite its tragic end, lived on through the unwavering determination of those who had come to its aid. As the survivors were brought to safety, their stories would serve as a reminder of the power of the human spirit, the enduring lessons learned from the tragedies of the past, and the collective strength found in unity and compassion. The rescue mission, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness, embodied the spirit of the Titanic legacy, reminding the world that even in the face of unimaginable adversity, humanity can rise above, supporting one another, and forging a path towards a brighter future. Back at port, a somber atmosphere pervaded the air as the Neo-Titanic and the Titanic Explorer returned with the survivors rescued from the frigid waters. The once bustling harbor, usually filled with joyful anticipation, was now hushed in reverence for the lives lost and the trauma endured. As the rescue vessels docked, a crowd had gathered, a mix of families anxiously awaiting the return of their loved ones and concerned onlookers seeking news of the survivors. News reporters, their cameras ready, stood at the ready to document this chapter of the Titanic story. The survivors, wrapped in warm blankets and supported by the crew, disembarked from the ships. Their eyes carried the weight of the unimaginable, the depths of their experiences etched upon their faces. Families and friends rushed forward, tears of relief streaming down their faces as they embraced their loved ones tightly, grateful for their safe return. Medical personnel, deployed with efficiency and compassion, attended to the survivors, ensuring they received the care they needed. Paramedics and doctors assessed their physical well-being, treating injuries and addressing the effects of exposure to the harsh Arctic conditions. Psychologists and counselors offered emotional support, guiding them through the trauma they had endured. In the days that followed, the survivors began the process of recovery. Support services were made available, including counseling, therapy, and support groups. The survivors were encouraged to share their stories, to lean on one another, and to find solace in the shared experience of survival. The communities surrounding the port rallied together, offering their assistance and resources to aid in the recovery efforts. Local organizations, charities, and volunteers provided shelter, clothing, and nourishing meals. It was a testament to the power of human compassion, as the tragedy of the Titanic Nova brought out the best in the community, uniting them in their shared humanity. Meanwhile, the investigation into the events leading up to the sinking of the Titanic Nova was initiated. Experts and authorities worked tirelessly to piece together the sequence of events, examining every detail in an effort to prevent similar disasters in the future. Lessons were learned, safety protocols were scrutinized, and the maritime industry would be forever changed. In the wake of the tragedy, the legacy of the Titanic nova took on new meaning. The vessel, once a symbol of human achievement and endurance, would forever be associated with the resilience of the survivors and the dedication of the rescue crews. Their stories would be shared, their experiences would shape future safety measures, and their resilience would inspire generations to come. Memorials were erected to honor the lives lost, providing a place for reflection and remembrance. The names of the survivors and those who perished were etched into the collective memory, a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing each moment. The story of the Titanic nova, from its illustrious beginnings to its tragic end, left an indelible mark on the maritime world and the hearts of people worldwide. It served as a reminder that even in the face of unforgiving elements, the strength of the human spirit and the power of unity can prevail. The legacy of the Titanic nova would forever be intertwined with the triumph of survival, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring lessons learned from history's most iconic maritime disaster. In the aftermath of the Titanic nova tragedy, the Neo-Titanic, having fulfilled its rescue and recovery mission, found itself permanently docked in the year 2020. The ship, now a solemn reminder of the past, stood as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the indelible mark left by the original Titanic and its sister ships. Docked at a specially designated berth, the Neo-Titanic became a symbol of remembrance and education. It served as a memorial to all those who had lost their lives in maritime disasters throughout history, including the Titanic nova. Visitors from around the world came to pay their respects and to gain a deeper understanding of the tragedies that had unfolded. The ship's interior was meticulously preserved, maintaining its historical authenticity. Visitors were able to explore the recreated passenger areas, complete with interactive exhibits and displays that chronicled the Titanic's legacy. Artifacts recovered from the Titanic nova, along with items of historical significance, were on display, telling the stories of those who had been aboard the ill-fated vessel. A dedicated team of historians, researchers, and museum curators worked tirelessly to curate and expand the exhibits, ensuring that the legacy of the Titanic and its sister ships would be preserved for future generations. Their work brought to life the experiences of the passengers and crew, allowing visitors to connect with the human stories that had unfolded amidst the tragedy. The Neo-Titanic's role as an educational institution extended beyond the museum exhibits. Seminars, conferences, and workshops were organized, inviting experts from various fields to share their knowledge and insights. The lessons learned from the tragedies of the past were studied and disseminated, with a focus on maritime safety, disaster preparedness, and the importance of human compassion in times of crisis. The ship also became a platform for artistic expression. Renowned photographers, painters, and musicians found inspiration in the Neo-Titanic's haunting presence. Their works captured the poignancy of the ship's story, inviting contemplation and reflection on the impact of the past on the present. The Neo-Titanic, having fulfilled its role as a rescue vessel and bearing witness to the Titanic nova tragedy, had found a new purpose in its permanent docking. It stood as a reminder that from tragedy can emerge growth, knowledge, and compassion. The ship's presence offered solace and a collective determination to honor the memory of those who had perished and to prevent similar catastrophes from occurring in the future. As the years passed, the Neo-Titanic continued to be a beacon of remembrance, its importance ingrained in the collective consciousness. It became a destination for tourists, historians, and those seeking a deeper connection to the human experience. The legacy of the Titanic and the Titanic nova lived on, reminding the world of the preciousness of life, the lessons of the past, and the need for vigilance in the face of the unpredictable sea. Despite the tragic events surrounding the Titanic nova, the Titanic explorer continued to forge ahead on its own path, propelled by the resilience and determination of its crew. While the loss of the nova weighed heavily on their hearts, they understood the importance of carrying on with their mission of exploration and discovery. With the storm subsided and the survivors safely rescued, the Titanic explorer regrouped and set its sights on new horizons. The vessel, with its crew of seasoned explorers and scientists, was driven by an insatiable curiosity and a commitment to uncovering the secrets of the deep. Departing from the port once more, the Titanic explorer charted its course to unexplored waters and remote corners of the globe. The ship, equipped with advanced technology and research facilities, became a mobile laboratory for scientific study and marine exploration. As the years passed, the Titanic explorer became renowned for its significant contributions to oceanic research and discovery. The crew embarked on expeditions that delved into uncharted depths, unraveled mysteries of marine ecosystems, and studied the impact of climate change on our oceans. The ship's advanced sonar systems and remotely operated underwater vehicles, ROVs, allowed for the exploration of deep-sea trenches and the discovery of unique species that had never been seen before. The crew conducted experiments, collected samples, and documented their findings, adding invaluable knowledge to the scientific community. The Titanic explorer became a hub for collaboration, hosting international research teams and scientists from various fields. Together, they conducted groundbreaking studies on marine biology, geology, oceanography, and more. The ship's laboratories buzzed with activity as researchers analyzed data, developed new theories, and pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Beyond its scientific pursuits, the Titanic explorer also took on a role in environmental advocacy. The crew actively participated in initiatives to promote marine conservation and raise awareness about the importance of protecting our oceans. They collaborated with environmental organizations, shared their findings with policymakers, and engaged with communities to inspire stewardship of the marine environment. Throughout its journeys, the Titanic explorer encountered breathtaking landscapes, encountered incredible marine life, and experienced the awe-inspiring power of the world's oceans. The ship's logbooks became a testament to the spirit of exploration, documenting the wonders discovered and the challenges overcome. As the years rolled on, the Titanic explorer became a symbol of human ingenuity and the unwavering spirit of exploration. Its legacy extended far beyond the tragedy of the Titanic Nova, as it continued to inspire future generations to embark on their own voyages of discovery, fueled by curiosity and a passion for understanding our planet. The Titanic explorer remains a steadfast vessel, forever tied to the quest for knowledge and the desire to explore the mysteries that lie beneath the surface of our vast oceans. And as it sails into the unknown, it carries with it the spirit of the original Titanic, a beacon of human achievement and the enduring pursuit of discovery. In the year 2023, after years of service, exploration, and scientific endeavors, the Titanic explorer reached the final chapter of its storied journey. The decision was made to retire the vessel and transform it into a living testament to the legacy of the Titanic and the remarkable era in which she sailed. A monumental restoration effort took place, aimed at returning the ship to its original 1912 state of grandeur. Skilled craftsmen meticulously recreated the ship's iconic features, ensuring every detail was faithful to the original design. The restoration team scoured historical records, archival photographs, and artifacts to recreate the opulent interiors, the lavish furnishings, and the luxurious atmosphere of the ship's golden age. After months of painstaking work, the transformation was complete. The Titanic explorer emerged from the shipyard, reborn as the Titanic once again. The ship's majestic profile, with its 4 towering funnels and elegant bow, captivated all who beheld her. Now, as a museum ship, she would share the stories and history of the original Titanic with the world. The newly restored Titanic made her way to Southampton, the port where the original Titanic had departed on her fateful voyage over a century ago. The city embraced her return with a mixture of reverence and excitement, recognizing the significance of this iconic vessel's homecoming. As the Titanic docked in Southampton, thousands of people gathered to witness her arrival. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation and a sense of awe. Visitors from across the globe were drawn to the city, eager to step aboard and immerse themselves in the Titanic's rich history. Inside the museum ship, visitors were transported back in time. They strolled along the recreated promenade deck, reliving the experiences of the past. They explored the sumptuous first-class cabins, marveling at the intricate woodwork and elegant furnishings. They descended into the recreated grand staircase, its grandeur taking their breath away. The museum ship became a hub of education, as historians, maritime experts, and passionate storytellers guided visitors through the stories of the Titanic. Exhibits showcased the ship's construction, the lives of the passengers and crew, and the tragic events of that ill-fated night in 1912. Interactive displays allowed visitors to experience the Titanic's voyage and better understand the human stories behind the tragedy. In addition to the historical exhibits, the museum ship also hosted cultural events, concerts, and art exhibitions, further enriching the visitor experience. It became a place where art, history, and commemoration converged, inviting contemplation and reflection on the profound impact of the Titanic's legacy. The renamed Titanic, proudly bearing her original name, became an enduring symbol of resilience and remembrance. The ship's presence in Southampton served as a reminder of the city's maritime heritage and its connection to the Titanic's legacy. Locals and tourists alike walked her decks, captivated by the history and the poignant stories that echoed within her walls. Through the years, the Titanic Museum ship continued to be a beacon of knowledge, preservation, and respect. It remained an invaluable resource for scholars, historians, and enthusiasts, furthering our understanding of the Titanic's significance in maritime history. As the sun set over the Titanic in Southampton, casting a warm glow upon her majestic silhouette, she stood as a living memorial to the lives lost and the enduring spirit of those who sailed aboard her. The restored Titanic would forever hold a place in the hearts and minds of all who encountered her, a testament to the human spirit, the pursuit of knowledge, and the power of remembrance. In a visionary move, plans were set in motion to recreate the sister ships of the Titanic, the Olympic and the Britannic. Drawing upon the meticulous research and expertise gained from the Titanic's restoration, skilled craftsmen and engineers set out to recreate these iconic vessels, ensuring historical accuracy while incorporating modern amenities and safety features. The recreated Olympic, an emblem of elegance and grandeur, found her new purpose as a hotel ship. Docked alongside the Titanic in Southampton, she became a living testament to the golden age of ocean liners. Inside her meticulously restored interiors, guests experienced the opulence and luxury of a bygone era. The recreated first-class cabins, the grand dining rooms, and the majestic promenade deck offered an unparalleled glimpse into the past. Guests immersed themselves in the Titanic's sister ship, indulging in the nostalgia and splendor that once graced the decks of these majestic vessels. On the other side of the Titanic, the Britannic was reborn as a vibrant casino ship. Resplendent in her recreated glory, the Britannic's interiors dazzled visitors with their Art Nouveau-inspired design. Passengers boarded the ship to enjoy the excitement and glamour of a floating casino, where the spirit of adventure and chance filled the air. Gaming tables, slot machines, and entertainment venues created an atmosphere of sophistication and excitement. The Britannic provided an unforgettable experience, blending the elegance of the past with the vibrant energy of modern entertainment. Together, the Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic formed a magnificent trio, each ship offering a unique experience. Visitors and guests could explore all three vessels, stepping back in time to witness the height of ocean travel and revel in the distinct personalities of each ship. The dockside area in Southampton transformed into a hub of maritime history and entertainment. Cafes, boutiques, and art galleries flourished, catering to the influx of tourists eager to immerse themselves in the splendor of these recreated ships. The area buzzed with a vibrant energy as visitors and locals alike enjoyed the nostalgic atmosphere and the sense of living history. Beyond their individual roles, the recreated Titanic, Olympic, and Britannic collectively served as a testament to the enduring legacy of the White Star Line and the remarkable era in which they sailed. The ships became a beacon for heritage tourism, attracting enthusiasts and history buffs from around the world. Their presence brought economic revitalization to Southampton, breathing new life into the city's maritime heritage. The trio of ships hosted special events, ranging from themed parties and concerts to historical lectures and exhibitions. These gatherings celebrated the rich maritime history and provided a platform for artists, musicians, and experts to showcase their talents and knowledge. As the sun set on the horizon, casting a warm glow over the trio of recreated vessels, the magic of their collective presence filled the air. The Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic stood side by side, a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and the enduring fascination with the grandeur of the past. Visitors and guests, whether they sought the tranquility of a floating hotel, the thrill of a casino experience, or the nostalgia of an era gone by, found themselves captivated by the timeless allure of these recreated ships. The Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic, forever linked in history, continued to inspire awe and wonder, reminding us of the extraordinary stories that lay within the world's great ocean liners. In a remarkable display of innovation and compassion, the Neo-Titanic, having completed its years of exploration and rescue missions, found a new purpose as a floating hospital. Docked next to her three sisters, the Titanic, Olympic, and Britannic, the Neo-Titanic now stood as a symbol of healing and care. The transformation of the Neo-Titanic into a state-of-the-art medical facility was an ambitious endeavor. Collaborating with medical experts, engineers, and designers, the ship was equipped with cutting-edge technology, specialized medical units, and an expert medical staff. The vessel was carefully redesigned to accommodate the needs of patients and provide a comfortable, nurturing environment. Inside the Neo-Titanic's restored interiors, the opulence of the past was replaced with state-of-the-art medical facilities. Staterooms were converted into private patient rooms, outfitted with advanced monitoring systems and modern amenities. Dining areas were transformed into medical stations and rehabilitation centers. The grand halls and ballrooms became spacious areas for medical conferences, training sessions, and community outreach programs. As a floating hospital, the Neo-Titanic was staffed with highly skilled medical professionals, including doctors, nurses, surgeons, and support staff. They worked tirelessly to provide exceptional care to patients from all walks of life. The ship's medical capabilities were on par with the finest hospitals on land, ensuring that patients received top-quality treatment in a unique and serene environment. The Neo-Titanic, alongside her three sister ships, formed a powerful healthcare consortium. Collaborations between the vessels allowed for the sharing of resources, expertise, and research initiatives. The medical staff on board worked in close coordination with local hospitals and medical organizations, fostering a spirit of cooperation and advancing medical knowledge and practices. The presence of the floating hospital and the three other ships in Southampton attracted medical professionals, researchers, and students from around the world. The ships became centers for medical education and training, offering internships, residencies, and advanced medical programs. Seminars, symposiums, and conferences were held on board, facilitating the exchange of ideas and fostering innovation in healthcare. The Neo-Titanic's docking location, flanked by the Titanic, Olympic, and Britannic, became a beacon of hope and healing. The area surrounding the ships was transformed into a thriving healthcare district, with specialized clinics, research facilities, and rehabilitation centers. Together, they formed a comprehensive medical ecosystem, catering to the diverse healthcare needs of the community. The floating hospital also played a crucial role in disaster response and humanitarian missions. The ship's agility and self-sustainability allowed it to reach remote areas in times of crisis, providing emergency medical care, resources, and expertise. The Neo-Titanic became a symbol of compassion and resilience, lending a helping hand in times of need. As the years passed, the Neo-Titanic's reputation as a world-class healthcare facility grew, attracting patients from around the globe seeking specialized treatments and compassionate care. Its legacy, intertwined with the stories of the Titanic, Olympic, and Britannic, embodied the enduring human spirit and the commitment to improving lives. Together, the Neo-Titanic and her three sister ships stood as a testament to the power of transformation, each vessel taking on a unique role in the service of humanity. They served as beacons of hope, reminding us of the importance of compassion, innovation, and unity in times of crisis. Their collective presence in Southampton symbolized the indomitable spirit of healing and the eternal pursuit of providing care to those in need. Adjacent to the four magnificent ships, a new structure took shape, a museum dedicated to the Titanic Nova tragedy. This museum, an architectural marvel in its own right, stood as a solemn tribute to the lives lost and the enduring impact of the Nova's fateful journey. The design of the museum drew inspiration from the sleek lines of the ships, seamlessly blending modern aesthetics with a sense of reverence. Its exterior, reminiscent of the ocean's waves, shimmered in reflective surfaces, reflecting the surrounding vessels and the changing sky. The structure, carefully curated to harmonize with the historic setting, captivated visitors before they even set foot inside. Stepping into the museum, visitors were transported on a journey through time. The exhibits chronicled the events leading up to the Titanic Nova's ill-fated voyage, exploring the factors that contributed to the tragedy and examining the lessons learned. Display cases showcased artifacts recovered from the wreckage, giving visitors an intimate glimpse into the lives of those who sailed on the Nova. Interactive displays, multimedia presentations, and immersive installations brought the story to life. Personal accounts, meticulously researched records, and audiovisual narratives conveyed the harrowing experiences of the passengers and crew, evoking a sense of empathy and deep reflection. The museum also delved into the subsequent rescue and recovery efforts, celebrating the bravery and compassion of those who risked their lives to save others. It paid tribute to the unsung heroes, both aboard the rescue vessels and within the communities affected by the tragedy. Within the museum's walls, a dedicated space was allocated to honor the memory of those who lost their lives on the Titanic Nova. A tranquil memorial garden, adorned with symbolic sculptures and names of the victims, provided a serene setting for reflection and remembrance. Educational programs and workshops were offered within the museum, engaging visitors of all ages. Students and scholars delved into the historical, scientific, and social aspects of the Nova tragedy, fostering a deeper understanding of its significance. The museum became a center for research and discourse, encouraging the exploration of maritime history and promoting safety awareness. Adjacent to the museum, a serene waterfront promenade offered panoramic views of the 4 ships and the surrounding landscape. Sculptures, monuments, and contemplative spaces invited visitors to pause, offering a moment of introspection and gratitude for the lessons imparted by the Nova tragedy. The museum complex became a global destination for tourists, scholars, and families seeking to understand the impact of maritime disasters and pay homage to those affected by them. Its presence elevated Southampton's reputation as a center for maritime heritage, education, and commemoration. Through the museum, the story of the Titanic Nova tragedy resonated with visitors from around the world. It served as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life, the importance of safety measures, and the enduring legacy of those who experienced and learned from the tragedy. The museum stood as a beacon of remembrance, ensuring that the memory of the Titanic Nova and its impact on maritime history would never fade away. Its doors remained open to all, inviting them to learn, reflect, and honor the lives lost, a powerful testament to the human spirit and the pursuit of knowledge in the face of adversity. Epilogue. In the years that followed, the 4 sister ships Titanic, Olympic, Britannic, and the Neo-Titanic continued to leave an indelible mark on the world. Each vessel, with its unique role and purpose, stood as a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and the enduring fascination with maritime history. The Titanic, lovingly restored to her original splendor, remained a symbol of tragedy and human perseverance. As visitors walked her decks, they felt a deep connection to the past, honoring the lives lost and the lessons learned from the catastrophic events of 1912. The ship served as a catalyst for change, inspiring ongoing advancements in maritime safety and reminding the world of the importance of diligence and compassion. The Olympic, transformed into a hotel ship, became a cherished destination for travelers seeking a glimpse into the opulence of the Edwardian era. The vessel offered a unique experience, where guests could step back in time and relish the luxuries of a bygone era. It stood as a living testament to the grandeur of ocean liners and the enduring allure of travel. The Britannic, reborn as a vibrant casino ship, brought joy and excitement to visitors from around the world. Its glamorous interiors, combined with state-of-the-art entertainment and gaming facilities, created an unforgettable experience for those seeking a touch of sophistication and adventure. The Britannic embodied the spirit of celebration and entertainment, embracing the modern era while paying homage to its storied past. The Neo-Titanic, transformed into a floating hospital, became a symbol of healing and compassion. As a beacon of hope, it offered exceptional medical care to those in need, exemplifying the unwavering dedication of medical professionals. The ship served as a reminder of the power of resilience and the importance of caring for one another, even in the face of adversity. Together, these 4 ships and the museum dedicated to the Titanic Nova tragedy formed a maritime legacy that touched the hearts and minds of people worldwide. Their stories resonated through the generations, carrying the lessons of the past into the future. In the years to come, the ships and the museum continued to draw visitors, scholars, and enthusiasts, their presence a testament to the enduring fascination with maritime history and the human spirit. They served as reminders of the triumphs and tragedies of the past, inspiring ongoing exploration, research, and preservation of our rich maritime heritage. As the sun set over Southampton, casting a golden glow upon the vessels and the museum, a sense of reverence filled the air. The legacy of the Titanic, Olympic, Britannic, and the Nova lived on, forever etched in the annals of history. And as visitors from all walks of life explored the ships, immersed themselves in the museum's exhibits, and learned from the lessons of the past, they were reminded of the enduring human spirit, the quest for knowledge, and the power of remembrance. In the end, the story of the Titanic and her sisters transcended tragedy and became a testament to the resilience, compassion, and indomitable spirit of humanity itself. It stood as a reminder that from the depths of darkness, we can find light, and from the tragedies of the past, we can learn, grow, and create a better future. In a final chapter of maritime history, a new vessel called the Novanik was built, taking inspiration from the tragic legacy of the Titanic Nova. Designed as a smaller version of its ill-fated predecessor, the Novanik embarked on a different journey, one of remembrance, education, and exploration. With a nod to the past, the Novanik's construction incorporated elements reminiscent of the original Titanic and its sister ships. The vessel's sleek lines, majestic profile, and elegant interiors paid homage to the iconic vessels that came before her. However, the Novanik also boasted modern technologies and innovations, ensuring the utmost safety and comfort for its passengers. The Novanik found its main port adjacent to the four sister ships Titanic, Olympic, Britannic, and the Neo-Titanic. This location created a unique and poignant connection, as visitors could witness the legacy of maritime history unfold before their eyes. As a tour vessel, the Novanik took passengers on unforgettable journeys through European waters. Travelers embarked on voyages that retraced the paths once sailed by the Titanic and her sisters, offering a glimpse into the maritime heritage of the region. Along the way, expert guides provided insightful commentary, enriching the experience with stories of maritime legends, historical events, and the significance of each port of call. Inside the Novanik, passengers were treated to luxurious accommodations, impeccable service, and a range of amenities. The ship's elegant dining areas offered delectable cuisine, while entertainment venues showcased live performances that paid tribute to the musical traditions of the past. The Novanik's observation decks, with their sweeping views of the surrounding landscapes and seascapes, invited passengers to contemplate the beauty and vastness of the European waters. While the Novanik was a vessel of leisure, it also served as an educational platform. Onboard exhibitions and interactive displays provided visitors with an in-depth understanding of maritime history, oceanography, and the Titanic Nova tragedy. Expert speakers and historians held lectures, shedding light on the lessons learned from the past and the ongoing efforts to ensure safety at sea. The Novanik's close proximity to the four sister ships enhanced the experience for passengers and visitors alike. Guided tours allowed guests to explore the Titanic, Olympic, Britannic, and the Neo-Titanic, gaining a comprehensive understanding of their stories and their impact on maritime history. The Novanik served as a bridge between the past and the present, connecting the legacy of the Titanic Nova with the ongoing exploration of European waters. As the Novanik sailed gracefully through European seas, it fostered a sense of reflection and remembrance. Passengers were encouraged to pay homage to the lives lost in the tragedy, honoring their memory and appreciating the resilience of the human spirit. The Novanik's presence, alongside the four sister ships, solidified Southampton's status as a global hub for maritime heritage and exploration. Together, they formed a remarkable maritime complex, a living testament to the enduring legacy of these iconic vessels and their place in history. The Novanik's voyages continued for generations to come, captivating passengers with the allure of maritime discovery and honoring the memory of the Titanic Nova. Its journeys not only provided leisure and entertainment but also offered an opportunity to reflect on the significance of maritime heritage and the eternal connection between the past, present, and future. And so, as the Novanik sailed on, it became a floating reminder of the resilience of the human spirit, the importance of remembrance, and the enduring fascination with the sea. Its presence, alongside the four sister ships, served as a beacon of inspiration, inviting all who encountered it to cherish the lessons of the past and embark on their own voyages of discovery and enlightenment.